Welcome to the Fall Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Blasey, and this is episode 101. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about a back-to-back story with Cameran Derefield from Ohio. All right, today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2020, and I am by myself today. And today we are talking to Cameran Derefield from Ohio. And we are talking to him about his back-to-back seasons that he's killed one in particular buck. So what he likes to do is pick out one deer and go after that deer, and that's it. It's either that deer or nothing. That's what we're talking about today. I've actually had Cameran on the podcast before. If you go back and check out episode 62, we talk about the deer that he killed last year. It was 189-inch huge deer. I believe it was 189 inches, somewhere right there. He killed that deer, and then this year he kills another giant on the same property with his bow. So it's pretty cool. It's a good story, but before we get into it, I just got a couple things I do want to talk about. And yes, today's podcast is a little late. I didn't get it out on Monday, but for good reason. I was actually in Reno all last weekend. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the reason why I was in Reno is because that's where the SCI convention is, Safari Club International. So we were hired to go down there. Lee and I went down there to cover the show. What we had to do is take B-roll and interview some people for the SCI to make a promo for next year's SCI. So that'll be coming out soon. You know, we spent the last 4 or 5 days in Reno, so I haven't got a lot of stuff done other than that. I mean, we were working daylight to dark basically and getting a lot of that stuff done. But the cool thing is I actually got to film an interview with Donald Trump Jr. Now, it was only about 10 seconds of it just because, I mean, it's Donald Trump Jr. He had like 9 Secret Service people around him all the time, and he's just really hard to get a hold of. So we were able to pin him down for about a minute, and literally it was only about a 7-second answer, but it was pretty cool nonetheless. Got to rub shoulders with him a little bit and got to interview him, so that's pretty cool. And a lot of other cool people we got to interview as well. But so that was what I was doing all weekend. Justin got off doing trade show stuff as well, so eventually him and I will be back on this doing podcasts with guests. But for right now, I'm going to keep rolling by myself, and when he gets done, we will be back as Batman and Robin, as a lot of people like to say. So a couple other things. Also, this Thursday, February 13th, I believe, at 7 p.m. Eastern, my deer from Iowa, the Great Hambino, is airing on the Kiefer Brothers _Humanimal YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and type in Kiefer Brothers, it'll come up. It's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern on Thursday, February 13th. That show will air. So go and check that out. Leave a thumbs up on there. Subscribe if you haven't. And leave a comment in the comment section because it's really cool. And the hunt came out really good. And I hope everybody enjoys it just as much as I did, and everybody else that behind the Humanimal walls has seen it and enjoyed it as well. So I didn't want to forget that. I think I basically touched my bases, other than also thank you for the support on the podcast. The podcast is trending up, which is great. A lot of downloads, and a lot of people are DMing me and talking about the podcast and really liking what we're doing. So I really, really appreciate that. And I will reiterate, just to go to Apple Podcast and leave a 5-star rating. That'd be huge, and possibly leave some feedback. So I appreciate that. This lengthy intro just by myself. I'm going to shut it down to get over with this interview with Cameran. So thank you guys for listening, and enjoy this conversation I had with Cameran Derefield. All right, today we have returning guest on Cameran Derefield. He was actually on episode number 62 talking about Papa's Pride. And dude, I'm excited to have you back because you did it again this year on the same property that you killed Papa's Pride on, and I can't wait to hear the story.
Yes, sir. Yeah, finally. It was a rough, long, cold season.
Yeah, for sure. And in the first episode, like I said, episode 62, we talked about some different things. We talked about how you were just getting started with the outfitter that you and a buddy started, correct?
Yep.
So we talked about that. I mean, you were just you were getting ready to launch that thing at that time, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, it was all new. We started it. Well, we started getting it ready at about January, and but we didn't really get started until about April. By the time we got all the farms and everything, and I mean, just me and one other guy. And by the time season started, we had about 200 tree stands set up. We were running like 250 cameras. Had 42 plots put in. I mean, it was a hell of a summer.
How'd you find time to hunt this year?
It was very hard, man. It was bouncing back and forth. Like, well, luckily, all the property that I actually guide hunts on is about 2 hours away. So there was times like I would if I didn't have clients for like a day, I'd just drive home and just hunt, and then actually load everything back up and drive back down there. And I mean, it was hell.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into this deer that you killed this year, named Rocky. So before we even describe the deer, I don't want to describe him yet. I mean, you hunted your butt off this year for him, but you did say that you hunted a little different than you did with Papa's Pride, correct? I mean, because you had the outfitting business going first season, so you obviously had to put a lot of time towards that, and then you had family as well. I'm sure you had to designate some time towards family. And so, first of all, I want to talk about the farm that you killed this buck on, and actually your last 4 deer. And this is what really intrigues me is this farm that you're on and how pressured it is. So let's go and break down this farm. Like, how many acres is it, and how many other guys hunt it other than you?
The farm in total is like 1,900 acres. I've actually killed my last 4 deer in like the same 120 acre circle.
Okay.
2 of those deer have been out of the same tree. But it's just a lot of pressure. There's 4 other guys that actually hunt this farm. All my neighbors around me hunt. They bow hunt. They gun hunt. And it's like it's one of those deals where like we're all kind of friendly, but like I'll ask them if they have a certain deer on camera, and no, and as soon as I shoot it, and then as soon as I shoot it, it's like, oh well, I did have them on this day and this day and this. I'm like, okay,
right, yep.
But out of those 4 deer I've shot, 3 of them have been shot before I shot them. It's just, I mean, it's there's this whole stigma of, oh, you just hunt private land. That's why you're shooting these deer. And I mean, I've hunted public with less pressure than all these farms have.
Right.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's a type of environment that there's a lot of bow hunters. They're mainly crossbow hunters, but they still bow hunt a lot. And then when gun season comes, they're out pushing every single wood patch.
Right.
So it's hard to let a certain deer grow, and you're taking a huge chance every year doing it, but it's paid off for me.
Yep. So 1,900 acres, which is fairly pretty big. I mean, that's a good chunk. With 4 other guys. Now, do you guys have any rules? Do you have certain areas that you only can hunt, or is it free game? Wherever you guys want to go on this 1,900, each of you can hunt it.
It's kind of weird. I mean, technically we can hunt wherever, but they kind of respect what I do. They don't put as much effort into it as I do, and so they kind of respect the spots that I've kind of picked out, or like the area pretty much that I've picked out. So so that's kind of cool. But they're also the type of guys that don't pay attention to wind. They don't, so they're in here just hunting any wind. Wind's blowing everywhere. By November, it's hard to even see a deer because all these guys are just coming here, and it's that part makes it rough. But yeah, I mean, I don't really associate with the other guys a whole lot. They'll text me once or twice a season, hey, you seen anything, blah blah blah. Or if they shoot one, they'll text me, and I'm more than willing to go out there and help them. But yeah, man, it's kind of like a unspoken, boundary line.
I gotcha. Now, do these guys, these other 4 guys, do they see these deer at all in the stand or in the season that you're killing?
I don't think they've ever seen any of the deer I've killed in person. Not the guys that hunt this farm. Guys on other farms have. but they definitely get trail cam pictures of them.
Yep, for sure. So, I mean, they know that they're in the area, and are these other guys killing deer as well? Just, not ones to really hold out?
Not real. I mean, yeah, but I think the biggest, like, one of the guys is my father-in-law, so I do talk to him, but he's killed the biggest deer of all of them, and it was like a 140-inch buck out of a spot that I put him in.
Yep, I gotcha.
But, the other guys I think just killed like a 120 tops.
Okay. So now, how big of an area, you said you killed these bucks and all within like a 120-acre circle. Is that what you're focusing in on, is just that area and whatever happens in there?
Yeah, pretty much, because it's kind of worked out because that 120 acres just seems to be the best habitat. It's probably 70% ag field, so there's not a lot of woods, but the woods that's there, as long as you know how to hunt them and you understand how these deer are bedding, it really pays off.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, for some reason, I'm gravitating more towards like smaller timber sections. Like, I really like that. And in a way, I feel like it could be easier to hunt, but also a lot more difficult in times, like for access and other ways of being able to get in there and actually get right on top of them. And sometimes it doesn't lend for a good opportunity, but I totally get what you're saying. So what was the ag this year? What was the crop rotation?
The entire farm was corn, which I'm not a fan of.
Okay.
And I say that because when there's soybeans, I noticed that the bucks I do have here tend to put on a little bit more growth. Also, there tend to be more bucks. When there's corn, it's I don't know. Corn really doesn't do a whole lot for deer, as far as it's not that great for them. It's
right.
Beans have way more protein to them and everything else. So, if I had to choose, I would want my entire farm in nothing but soybeans.
I gotcha. So, and I agree with you with the whole corn thing too, with, beans being a little more protein and better for the deer. One thing I do like standing corn for, though, is access. Like, you can access some really hard places to get to if you have them. And I feel like, it's basically just a screen too. If you got a food plot on the edge of timber and ag or something, I really enjoy that. But it can be very difficult to hunt, especially when the corn stays up all year and your deer numbers, you're just not seeing deer.
See, luckily the situation on this farm, like I said, it's way bigger than the area that I'm hunting. So I get to access from pretty much any way that I actually want to.
I gotcha.
And once you learn where, and I told you my style, I pick out one single buck a year, and that's all that I care about.
Yep.
So once I figure out his bedding, I can access through creeks, through all these different things without him seeing me. So the corn is good for that, but I'm just, like I said, I'm just not a fan of it as far as killing deer. First off, it holds the deer and hides them until October, and then when it's cut, it's you really don't see the deer come back until about January.
Right. Yep. Yeah, for sure. I agree. So transitioning to Rocky here. Now, last year when you were on Papa's Pride, did you know anything about Rocky? Was he on this farm around, or was this like a new deer that showed up this summer?
Oh no, Rocky's been here since 2017.
Okay.
He was a 4-year-old. He was a 4-year-old in 2017. Probably 140-inch 9-point. Last year, he was about 165-inch to 170-inch 10-point, and I passed him twice at 15 yards.
Okay, so this was the buck that you passed while you were hunting Papa's Pride that you could have killed twice.
Yeah, he's one of them. I also passed a deer that was in like the low 70s that the neighbor actually ended up killing.
Okay, I gotcha. So, that must have been hard to pass that deer. As a 10-point, 165-inch 10-point, that's a stud.
Yeah, but I was chasing a 190-inch.
Right.
So that made it a little bit easier.
Yep. Now, just to go back to last year, when you were passing Rocky, you must have had almost a guarantee in your head that you were going to get an opportunity at Papa's Pride. Is that correct? Or was it like, whether I do or not get an opportunity, I'm passing this deer, doesn't matter at all?
I mean, as we know as hunters, we're not guaranteed anything.
Right.
And if you would have asked me the day before bow season if I 100% thought I was going to kill Papa, I would have said yes without a doubt. If you would have asked me the second week in November if I was going to kill Papa, I'd have been like, oh, man, I don't know.
Yep.
He just changed his pattern that much. Once that velvet came off, he became, which, as these big deer do, he became completely different. I literally went from, so I actually live on this property.
Okay.
And I went from shooting my bow every day and Papa being 150 yards from me in the soybean field, literally just eating beans, hearing my arrow slap target and not caring, and to seeing 3 times the entire season.
That's crazy.
So I ended up killing him on November 28th, and man, it was that was a battle. That was a battle. That wore me out because, like I said, I hunted 60 days, 230 plus hours, 110 different tree stand setups. I was just going in, hanging, banging, but I wasn't super aggressive on him. I played it smart and stayed low key the whole time. Now with Rocky, I just got right in his bedroom all the time and just hunting hard.
Now, with that tactic on Rocky, was it because you were feeling maybe a little bit of pressure because you also had the outfitter job, business that you're trying to run, and then you had some more irons in the fire that you weren't going to be able to have 60 days to be able to get on this deer? Was that a factor?
Oh yeah, that was a big factor. And another big factor was looking back on Papa and looking at the situation. I knew where Papa was the whole time. I just couldn't get to him because he was standing in a sliver of timber between 2 standing cornfields, and if I walked through that corn, he was busting me.
Yep.
So knowing that and, just going off of the past, and I was like, look, I have limited time to hunt. If I learned any lesson last year, it was just go for it and do not hold back anything. So with the limited time and my new lessons learned from Papa, I just kind of went for it. And I saw Rocky 4 to 5 times before I actually killed him. And I mean, I was on him, man. He would disappear for a couple weeks every now and again, and but whenever he was here, I knew it, and I was on him. I filmed him like three times total. He was under my platform about 10 minutes after dark one night. It was a blast hunting this deer.
That's crazy. Now, you said you passed him up a couple times when you were hunting Papa the year before. Now, did you take any of that historical data into effect for this year where you were like, okay, I felt like I had a little bit of a pattern on Rocky as well, and kind of like put that in the memory bank and then use that for this year? Or was it just like clean slate, whatever happens, I'm going to adjust to it?
Yeah, I did. I actually killed him in the first place. I got a picture of him, not this past summer, but the summer of 18, the year I killed Papa.
Okay.
I actually killed him within 30 yards of that first picture. Which, he was here since 17, but my very first picture of him in 18, that's where I killed him at.
I gotcha.
It was 2 different times of the year, obviously, but he didn't stick to his pattern all that. I don't really see that a whole lot. What I notice is on this farm, I'm hunting the oldest deer here, the deer that I have the most history with, the deer that catches my eye. And that's how I single out each one of these deer. And what I've kind of noticed is it's kind of a mixture between his old pattern and the pattern of the deer I just shot. He kind of takes over a little bit.
Yep.
So you got to find a happy balance there, and that's the hardest part, I think, because you don't ever know what area he's going to take over.
Yep.
But cameras and all the intel, all that. That's what helps you find that out.
So, coming into October this year, like I said, you had the outfitting business that you're running, and you're probably starting to run hunts already in October and even September, because your outfitter is in Kentucky, right? So you guys are hunting all through September. So
velvet. Yeah, we had velvet hunts. So starting September 7th, I mean, it was 100%.
Yep, and then in Ohio, where you're hunting Rocky, like you're not starting until basically October 1, right? End of September.
Yeah, end of September. I think it came in the 28th or 29th or something this year.
Yep. So coming into that, what was your plan? Were you banking on having a couple days in October where you could get right in after him, or was it just focus on the cameras and the intel and then move from there?
Yeah, so me being as big of a hunter as I am, when me and my business partner make our schedule with guiding hunts, we try to leave us a week every month so that we can get out. And so I knew I had a few days, plus some, there's single days here and there that I can just drive home and hunt. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, man. It was very overwhelming for me starting the season down there on September 7th. And by the time season started here, and I realized, like, damn, man, you're barely going to have time to hunt this deer.
Yeah.
And so that was, me being as much of a hunter as I am, I'm like, which, I knew that going into the season. Everybody tells me this, and everybody's like, I can't believe you're doing it because how much you like hunting. And I'm like, look, this is a dream of mine. I've wanted to do this my entire life. I'll find a way to make it work. But going into October, I was like, oh my God, how's this going to work?
Yeah.
And he actually did. And so I got pictures of him throughout September, right at daybreak or right before dark, nothing in full daylight. And he finally broke daylight on October 6th. I wasn't here, but he broke daylight. And from that point on, man, I was, I told myself, every waking moment that you're not outfitting and you have the chance to hunt, you better hunt.
Yep.
And because where he was at, he was actually on the property line. So I knew the neighbor knew of him. And that picture on October 6th was at 4:30 at broad daylight. And then he was gone for 2 weeks. Well, 2 days after that picture, I got a message saying, hey, the neighbor just shot a giant. I think he shot your deer.
Oh,
and,
gosh.
And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, why'd you become an outfitter? You're a dumbass, And he was gone for 2 weeks, man. Like, I thought it was real. I never seen any pictures, never seen nothing like that. But the neighbor's exact words was, I finally shot your buck. And it was 2 weeks, man. And then finally, boom, he's back. And the day that I got a picture of him, I can't remember what day it was. It was, in the teens. I went hunting the very next day, and that's when I seen him. I videoed him at 75 yards. He never got any closer to me. But that was like, okay, now it's time to grind and get super aggressive, and
So then October 6th comes around, and you think the neighbor shot him. Well, I guess the 2 weeks after that. So like you're in mid-October, you think he's gone. So then,
yeah,
so then what happened from there when he finally showed back up?
Well, in that 2 weeks, every day that I had off, I went to my other farms and throwing out cameras, grinding, trying to find another giant. And then, before I was even able to come back home and go check those other cameras, he was back.
Oh, okay. So he was back on the cameras, and so what did the neighbor end up shooting?
I don't know still to this day. Part of me just thinks that in his mind, he was going to tell me, hey, I shot your deer and I wasn't going to hunt him anymore.
I gotcha.
But I mean, anybody who knows me knows that that's the farthest thing from what I would do.
Right.
So, if he did shoot a deer, I know what deer it is because he's been gone. And, but it is what it is. I don't really care because his attitude about it and everything. I was just kind of like, you know what, screw this dude.
Yep. So he shows back up. what is he doing? Is he in daylight? Is he after dark? And what day was it?
It was midnight when he showed back up on camera, and I want to say it was like the 17th, 18th. It was somewhere right in there when he showed back up on camera.
Okay.
And like I said, the very next day I went out and hunted, and I seen him. He was actually bumping does and everything. And I mean, dude, as soon as I seen him from probably 300 yards away, and he was in a scrape. And I watched 4 other bucks before him that very evening hit that scrape. So I got a pretty good idea looking that far. All right, well that's a 2-year-old. I know who he is. That's a 3-year-old. I know who that is. Well, all of a sudden I look up and see this body in this scrape, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's a big deer. And he lifted his head up, man, and I was like, it's him. And he's walking, and as soon as he does that scrape, he's walking right down the field edge to me, and I'm like, oh my God, it's about to happen. And before he got to me, them other bucks and does kind of stopped him, and they played around or whatever. But yeah, that was that whole day right there, pretty much.
So you had one day to hunt, isn't that right? You had one right when you got him on camera. You had one day. You went up there and saw him. So then, what was your plan going into November? Because I mean, your Kentucky hunts are going to start ramping up here too because of rut hunts. So how are you balancing this?
Well, I went right back down there, and I had hunts booked for 2 weeks straight, of course, and that was the most stressful, depressing 2 weeks of my life. Because I'm thinking to myself the whole time, I know he's there.
Yep.
And I mean, it was rough, man. But we have some clients shoot some really good deer. So that part's fun. It really takes your mind off of it, And then leading into November, I was super stressed, man, because I hate rut. And people was like, how do you hate rut? I don't, because I chase one specific deer,
Right.
So rut is a dangerous mixture for that. And so I knew going back home, it was going to be rough. But I didn't see him again. I take that back. November, I want to say, so rifle season came in the 9th in Kentucky. I want to say the 8th, 7th or 8th is when he was standing under my tree stand 10 minutes after dawn.
And that was on, you had him on trail cam then?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, so he was on trail camera, off and on during that whole time.
Yep. Nothing too consistent though. Like he wasn't daylight frequent.
Dude, this deer didn't frequent anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just random as hell. But yeah, man, he was under my tree stand. I'm like, dude, if this would have been 15 minutes earlier, I could have smoked this deer.
Yep.
That's when I'm like, man, I'm just gonna start shooting a damn crossbow. No, but it's and at that point, you're stuck. I sat in my tree that night until like 10, because I didn't know where he was. I knew he was there, and I'm hunting the edge of this cut cornfield and right up against real thick bedding, and I'm like, dude, he could be 15, 20 yards from me, and I would never know.
Yep. So you had to wait
so so I sat in my stand until 10, and I got down with no flashlight or nothing. I left my camera arm up in the tree, all that, so I didn't have to make any extra noise. And just got out of there, went back the next day, and actually pulled that set. And that was kind of like a kick in the shin,
Yep. So what was your idea of why pulling the set? Did you think it was not hot, or was it just kind of a coincidence that he was underneath that set?
Well, I actually hang and bang almost every
okay,
set.
I gotcha.
So I just didn't want to make all the extra noise that night knowing he was in there.
Yep.
So I just grabbed my bag, my bow, camera, ozonics, and just rolled out,
Yep, I gotcha. So then so this is the second time you've seen him. Now he's closer. It just ran out of light. So then,
yeah.
when's the next time you saw him?
so then, so that was on. So that was the 7th. I know now because it came in the 9th in Kentucky. So the 8th, I was loading my truck up, and getting my truck loaded up with everything I need for the next week of booking hunts or running hunts and everything. And I look out in the field, and he's 35 yards from my tree stand.
Oh.
From a tree stand that I've had there since 2015. Like, I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. I mean, granted, I probably wouldn't have hunted that stand, but it's still like, you got to be shitting me. And he's out there in the field in broad daylight, walks 35 yards from my stand I've had there since 2015, then walks down the fence line and is 20 yards from my elevated blind. And I'm like,
man.
dude. I'm like, and I call my wife out there, and my wife doesn't cuss. And I was like, look. She's like, what? I'm like, look through these binos, look out there right beside the blind. And she was like, holy shit. She was like, that's a big deer, And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And, so that was that. And so I went and guided hunts all week, whatever. Came back, had him on camera, never seen him. And then my favorite week to hunt is Thanksgiving week. I've killed a majority of my deer during that week.
Mm-hmm.
And I told everybody, I was like, I'll see him this week. I had the week off, and I did. I seen him at about 100 yards. He was in the same field as me. He came out and fed in that field for 35, 40 minutes, man. And I got to film him. I got to film a whole bunch. And when he came back into the bedding area, he was angled towards me. So there I am again. Here, it's about to happen.
Yep.
Here we go. And nothing. Nothing, man. I never seen him, but it's one of the nights that I'm like, dude, I know he's here.
Yeah.
So I kind of sat it out a little bit. Sat there probably till 8 or 8:30. Did the same thing. Grabbed my stuff, climbed out, went back the next day and pulled that set. I don't normally do that, but knowing that it was a small bedding area that I'm hunting, and knowing that he's in there, I just couldn't chance it.
Right. So you were hunting a lot of field edges, like you said, like 70% of it's ag. So you don't have a lot of sets that you can get into the timber, or did you think if it was going to happen, it was going to be on this field edge?
No, I just knew where he was bedding, and I knew that where he was bedding, there was multiple other deer bedding, does and small bucks.
Yep.
And I knew if I pressed into, which I did, so twice I pressed right into his bedding. One night or one evening, I knew he was in there. I pressed right in, probably 50, 60 yards from where I knew he was bedding, which is not crazy for me, dude. I've done that with my 2017 buck. I actually watched him stand up out of his bed.
Yeah.
And but it's so thick in there, man, that like at 50 yards you can't even see a deer.
Okay.
So, to me, going into that part of the season, it's rut, and rut's just starting to taper off, or and the one time I did go into the bedding, it was rut. And the only reason I did that was my mindset behind that was the wind's right, it's rut. Maybe they won't care too much about the sound as long as I don't get winded or I don't get seen. And so I went in there and I swore that it was him, man. I heard a deer get up out of his bed, and I heard, and he just started trotting off. But it was a deep grunt, and I'm like, oh, that had to be him.
Uh-huh.
And, but, and I did hunt a lot of, a lot in the woods, but I just knew where he was bedding, so I was kind of just playing it somewhat safe, but still being, when he walked out, it got to the point where I got him on a decent enough pattern that when he walked out in that field, he was walking under my stand.
Yep.
And that's what I kept banking on. And I watched him do the same thing 3 or 4 times. So I knew. So it was the first time I seen him, we're at 75 yards. When he was under my stand, when I filmed him feeding in the field, when I seen him out in the field by the elevated blind, all that was within 100 yards.
Okay.
So I knew that area is where I needed to be.
So he's living in basically a pretty small area.
Yeah, it's about 25 to 30 acres of something that I call like almost like rabbit brush, just real thick, you know.
Yep, I know what you mean.
And so I knew where he was. If he was going to come out in that field, I knew where he was. Because the other guys that hunt this field actually hunt that same line, that same field edge, but about 250 to 300 yards down. And
okay.
Like I said, they don't pay attention to wind. They hunt out of ladder stands, all stuff. So I know he knew better than to walk out there.
Yep. So they were almost helping you in a way without even knowing it.
Oh yeah, you know. And and I try to help you guys. Like, look, you guys got to start hunting the winds. Pay attention to the winds before you come out. You guys got multiple ladder stands you can hunt. And I try to help them, but they don't listen, and I'm tired of trying to teach them. So
right, yep. So we're Thanksgiving week right now, and you saw him again, but just not close enough. So going into January, was your game plan the same? Did you have any more hunts booked for? That you're running Kentucky, or were you pretty much winding down?
Yeah. So we had hunts booked. We have a muzzleloader season in December, so we had all that booked up, plus the holidays. But again, like I said, he would go through periods where he would disappear for a week or two. So the week before Christmas and the week of Christmas, he wasn't here.
Okay.
Which would kind of scared me, because our gun season is the first week of December, and then 2 weeks later, it's that weekend. So we done had 2 gun seasons pretty much, and he was gone. And I'm freaking out.
Okay.
And but I knew if somebody shot him, I would hear about it.
Yep.
And so I'm freaking out like he's not here. I don't know what to do. And my wife knows the same song and dance every single year. I'm just like, I get all down. I'm like, babe, it's over. Like, and just like, she's like, shut up. She's like, you do this every year. Just calm down. He's not dead. Blah blah blah. I'm like, he's dead. It's done. And then he showed back up. I want to say December 29th.
Okay, so he was basically gone the month of December.
Yeah, well, the last 2 weeks of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, right there. And he showed up at nighttime, and I'm sorry, that was the 28th. He showed up at nighttime, and he showed up the morning of the 29th before daylight. And then, boom, gone again. And I'm like, geez,
Yeah.
But that, at least I knew he was still alive, And that morning I shot him, which was January 3rd, I left the house to go get me and my wife and daughter breakfast. And
this is January 3rd.
Yep, January 3rd.
So you weren't planning on hunting that morning then?
No, I don't hunt mornings here in any type of farmland, because you do more damage than good, I feel like, because all these deer are out in the fields.
Yep.
So you kind of you kind of booger up your good evening spot if you try to hunt it in the morning.
Yeah.
I've just noticed that. I don't really hunt mornings. Sometimes during ruts, I will. But I didn't plan on hunting that morning. And so I went to go get breakfast, and I drive past that bedding area, and 40 yards off the road, he's standing there, broad daylight,
by himself.
And I'm like, I'm going to kill that deer today. And in the forecast was a hard rain that started at noon. It was pouring rain starting at noon. So, I'm driving to get breakfast, just jonesing,
Yeah.
Just jacked up, Mine's racing. I'm texting all my buddies, sending them, maps with, I'm color coding where he's bedding, where I've seen him, all this stuff. And everybody's like, I don't know, man. The wind isn't, the wind was good, but it wasn't the best. It's pouring rain. I actually video hunt, so the pouring rain kind of stops that, and it was 52 outside on January 3rd.
It's warm.
And I was like, I'm going after it. Well, I went and got breakfast and everything, come back, and then me and my wife and daughter drove into town to go shopping, and we're just kind of shopping, hanging out, and I'm kind of debating, like, man, it is going to rain. I don't know if I should go, blah, blah, blah. Then about noon, I'll never forget it, man. We were standing in I think it was Hobby Lobby, and I'm like, all right, you need to hurry up, because I was like, I got to go hunt. And she was like, what? I'm like, you got to hurry up, because I got to go hunt, And she's like, you can't just decide. I was like, I just decided it. Like today is the day. I feel it. Well, we got home. I showered up, got dressed, rolled out. And that evening, the first deer walked in about 3:45.
So is it raining right now then? Did the forecast stay true?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's pouring rain, dude.
Okay.
Pouring rain. And so the first deer walked in about 3:45, and it was two yearlings and a doe, and they came from the direction I thought he would have came from. And they're walking in all slow and timid, and I'm like, oh, he's got to be with him. He's got to be with him. And he wasn't. And so 25 minutes later, those does kind of work off. Well, from the opposite way come a spike and a 4-point. And I'm like, oh, he's got to be with him. He's got to be with him.
Yep.
And he wasn't. So I'm like, God, man, you got to be shitting me. And then I see this 10-point come from the same direction that them does did, and he's all by himself. And he's coming, he's walking in, and I'm like, man, there's no way he's all by himself. There's no way. I was like, it's late, it's January. You don't really see that a whole lot.
Yep.
And about the time he got about 25 yards from me, way back in that bedding, I saw Rocky's head turn. And, dude, I lost my shit. Because it's just one of those moments like you just know,
Yep.
And I'm pretty stone cold when it comes to shooting deer. I've shot, a lot of good deer. And when I saw that, my heart started racing so fast that everything just went black.
Yep.
So I had to look down and gather myself. When I looked back up slowly, and nothing. I didn't see anything. So I'm like, what the hell? And watching. Finally, he takes that big sweeping step that these bigger deer take, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, dude! And it took him 40 minutes to get to 30 yards.
Man,
I mean, just grueling, man. Grueling. It's pouring rain. I'm getting soaked. I can't run my big camera, but I put my GoPro on my camera arm and actually turned it on.
Yeah.
So, I'm just getting poured on. Finally, he gets within 30 yards, and he wouldn't give me the shot. He was kind of angled to me real hard. Well, I mean, dude, he wouldn't give me the shot for nothing. And, I waited probably 8-10 minutes. And I'm like, dude, I gotta make something happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna get dark soon. I won't be able. I got. This is my chance. It's January 3rd.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Finally, I'm like, look, I know I can hit the back of his lung and his liver, and I'll find him tomorrow. Like I knew I could pull it off. Well, here I am soaked, and I wear Sitka, so it's like that, like Berber stuff.
Yep.
So I weigh about 300 pounds.
Yep.
And I go to draw my bow back, and there's a branch right behind my arm, and as I pull back, my elbow kind of rubs that branch, and it's not even loud, man. I mean, it's quiet, and it's pouring rain, so it's and it just a little bit, and he looked right at me. Man.
Oh man.
I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So I just finished drawing. I'm like, it's one of them,
Yep, just keep going.
It's all or nothing right now.
Yep.
And I draw back, and I'm stone cold, and he's looking at me, and I put put it right where I want it, man. And I shoot, and when I shoot, he ducks. And I spined him. I hit right where I was aiming, just high.
Yep.
And I spined him. He dropped right there. I threw another arrow in. I shoot sitting down. I don't shoot standing up.
Uh-huh.
And I actually had to get down on my platform and shoot him the second time and finished him off right there.
Oh,
and,
my gosh, man.
Dude, after that journey and, like, pulling off back-to-back giants like that, man, it was just like, oh, my God.
Unbelievable.
I lost. Like, I cried whenever I shot Papa. Like, and when I shot Rocky, I more than cried. Because I shot Papa with a gun. I bow hunted hard for him, but I shot him with a gun, and it was kind of like, I don't gun hunt. That was the first gun kill in this state that I had in like 10 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm like, man, I was like, it was my goal to shoot a giant with a bow, with a bow, and I wanted to be Rocky, of course, and no other deer mattered. And I passed a couple good deer throughout the season. I passed probably the 140s, and I passed the 150s that I promised the neighbor I wouldn't shoot. That I knew he wouldn't do the same for me, but
You're right.
it is what it is.
Yep.
So, man, to just finish it off like that, I wasn't too proud of the shot, but it was cool, man. It was a very like crazy feeling. I remember just sitting there, and it's pouring rain, dude, like pouring rain. I'm just sitting there like, holy shit, I did it.
This happened.
And I'm just staring at it,
That's
just like
awesome.
Completely, when these moments happen, we put so much effort into them and try so hard for it to happen that we kind of don't really get to enjoy it, all the time because it's so fast paced.
I agree. It happened to me this year, man. You put so much pressure on yourself in the moment, and it's like you really have to take a second to reflect on it. And luckily, mine was filmed, so when I edited the episode, I got to relive it and feel that again, and it was my best deer ever. I mean, it was a 186-inch stud, and I got to relive that. And it was great.
Your deer was a friggin' giant. And probably hands down one of the coolest bucks I've probably ever seen.
Yeah,
but,
everybody tells me that. It's unbelievable the character he's got. But anyway, back to what you're doing. It's not my show, yours.
But yeah, man. But I just kind of sat there, man, and I really got to enjoy, the fact that I killed him, and that to me meant the world to me, man. That I'm getting to the point in my hunting, that I can sit down and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not just like, I want to kill giants and then you shoot one and you just flip out because you actually did it. Like it was like I could breathe, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And and I just, I think, I sat there and I thank God, I thank everybody, because it's just like I didn't think that I would be able to start guiding hunts and living that dream and then still get to live a dream of shooting giants, man. I was like, that just doesn't happen.
You got best of both worlds.
Yeah, man. And I mean, the past year, dude, I'll say this. I'm 28 years old, and for the past 28 years of my life, I've been blessed to be able to even be here and chase these deer and do everything that I'm able to do, man. But this past year, oh man, I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah. Well, you've worked your tail off, man, and I want to tell you first and foremost, congratulations on that. And you capped off another awesome year, and you're on a 4-year heater right now. You got
in those 4 years, I've killed 7 bucks. I've killed 3 out of state, and but just off this farm in 4 years, the 4 deer I've shot totaled out to 642 inches.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, man, and all within 120 acres. That's a pretty small area for the bucks that you're pulling out of there.
2 of them out of the very same tree.
That's crazy. Just crazy, man. That's why I love whitetails. It's so cool, and year after year it's different. There's some similarities, but it's just different. It's just keeps me coming back for more, and I love it.
I mean, that's why I chase single deer, man, because that's what makes it different. Yep. All these deer got a different personality, a different way of doing things, and it's kind of like, you've heard me say it, and you've seen me post about it all the time. Like, it's chess, man. It's the greatest chess match ever.
Yep, for sure.
Yep. And to be able to, pick one deer out and have the confidence to tell people I'm going to kill him, and then to actually work your butt off, put every bit of knowledge you have into your time. People don't. Everybody wants to kill big deer, but not everybody wants to put the time in to kill big deer.
Right. Yep.
It's a 365-day a year job.
It is, man.
And it's as much effort and time as I put into it. I'm like I said, I'm 28. I've killed a lot of good deer. And, people ask me, like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm just getting started.
Yeah. just keep going, man. Keep hunting.
Yeah, man. And I mean, this year, on a couple of different farms, I got to pick which one I want. I'm torn, but I'm going to have a deer that's 180. I'm going to have a deer that's right around 200, maybe a little bit more. And it's going to be, and I've also put a little kicker in it this year. I think I'm going full trad.
Oh, so, don't do that just yet. Don't put that out to the public yet.
Oh man, I'm really thinking. It all depends, but I'm really thinking about it. I'm not 100% on it yet, but man, I'm playing with that idea hard.
Yep. Well, if you want to make it harder, do that, because you only got shots up to 25 yards.
Yeah. I mean, and I've shot a trap bow since I was like 16, off and on. And, it's just it's something I've always wanted to do. And I kind of spoke out of context this year and told my buddies, if I shoot Rocky with a bow, I'll go trap next year.
Uh-oh.
And it's like, well, here it is.
Yep.
But I mean, and that's what I like, though, the challenge, man.
Yep.
If I would have had a trad bow with me, I definitely could have shot him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not at that angle. I'd have been a little weird, but it's yardage. My 2016 buck, the first buck I shot off this farm, I shot him at like 16 yards or 18 yards. My 2017 buck, I shot at 20 yards. So it's not that crazy. But on top of if I do go trad, on top of being trad, it's still going to be what I do best, and that's picking out one single deer and going after him.
Yep, for sure.
So it's going to be twice as hard. On top of outfitting, because now we're even bigger. We're like 95% booked this season.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not? Why not just give myself
do it up, man? Well, hopefully this time next year we're going to be able to do this annual podcast again for the third time, and maybe you got another big one down with the trad bow, so we can look forward to that.
Yeah, man. I mean, that'll be, if I shoot one with a trad bow, if I shoot another mega and it's with a trad bow, I think I'm going to just start like, mule deer hunting or something.
There you go.
Just kind of like take a break for a second. But,
yep.
But luckily, with me outfitting in a different state, I'm able to, shoot deer in two different states and follow two different deer. So I kind of told myself, like, maybe down there I'll hunt with a trad bow because I'll have more opportunities.
Yep.
And more deer to actually chase, because right now we're sitting at like 26,000 acres.
Yep.
So
you got a lot of ground to be able to play with.
Yeah. I can afford to mess up down there. Here, if I am chasing another 180 to 200, I don't really want to play with that too much.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man.
But I mean, hell, if I kill a trad buck down there and shoot one with a compound here, that's still a heck of a season.
Well, cool, man. I'm gonna have to cut you loose here. We are up on time, and I want to thank you for coming on and doing this again, and hopefully we can get you on again and do a third annual about another giant.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you just go ahead and mark it down.
Let's book it. All right, man. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And there you have it. I mean, pretty crazy story, right? So last year when he actually killed the deer that he names Papa's Pride, which is in episode 62, this deer that he killed this year, he passed up this deer that he killed this year at like, I don't know, what do you say, 15 to 20 yards away a couple times. Like, that's crazy. That was a huge deer, but that just goes to show you how, how motivated he is just to, stay focused on one deer. I mean, I couldn't do that. There's no way in heck I could have done that. But I guess if I had a 190-inch deer running around and you knew he was pretty safe and you could get on him, I guess I would be doing that as well. But I give it to Cameron. He's got his stuff so dialed, man, and he's a good dude to talk to, solid guy, and I appreciate him coming on and doing this. And again, I want to reiterate, thank you guys for the support and listening to the podcast, downloading, and I'm going to say it one more time. Go and leave a 5-star rating and leave some feedback. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys, and don't forget the Hambino episode, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, on the Kiefer Brothers YouTube channel on Thursday night. So go check that out. Let me know what you guys think. So thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.